All right, let's get right into it. Look, this isn't just another story about a pop star. What we're really doing today is breaking down a powerful case study in resilience, in strategic thinking, and honestly, in the sheer force of artistic integrity. This is all about how perseverance doesn't just build a career, it ends up defining the entire thing.
And right from the very beginning, she basically handed us the playbook herself. This quote, "This is the key to everything." It's not about being some kind of superhero who isn't afraid. It's about being terrified and doing it anyway. It's about seeing losses not as failures, but as practice. Just warm-up rounds. Hang on to that thought, because you're going to see it pop up again and again and again.
Every story has to start somewhere, right? And this one starts on a Christmas tree farm, of all places, with a young girl who had one single-minded dream: get to Nashville. But as you're about to see, that road to her dream was pretty much paved with people telling her no. Now, here's what's so wild. It's the speed of her reaction to failure. She's 11 years old, she goes door to door on Music Row with her demo CD, and every single label shuts her down. I mean, that would crush most kids, right? But her first instinct wasn't to cry or quit. It was to figure out a new plan. She immediately realized, okay, singing other people's songs isn't going to cut it. So she goes home, grabs this huge 12-string guitar, way too big for her, and just teaches herself to play. Practiced so much her fingers would literally bleed. That right there is pure grit. Okay, just pause and think about this for a second. You're 13. RCA Records, a legendary label, offers you a deal. This is the dream. But there's a string attached. They want you to just be the singer, performing songs other people wrote. And Taylor Swift said no. She walked away at 13. This moment is so important because it establishes her #1 rule right from the jump. She was going to be the one holding the pen. Period. So, because she bet on herself, she eventually lands a deal with a small, brand new label that lets her be the writer. Her first album is a huge success, and then her second album, Fearless, turns her into a household name around the world. But as you can imagine, with that kind of fame comes a whole new world of problems. At just 20 years old, she hits the absolute peak of the entire music industry. Winning Album of the Year for Fearless, that wasn't just a big deal, it was historic. The youngest person to ever do it. She's on top of the world. I mean, the girl from the Christmas tree farm had done it. I mean, seriously, she made it. She's at the pinnacle. So what could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, when you're standing on the biggest stage in the world, that spotlight is incredibly bright and incredibly harsh. The real tests were just getting started. And this is where you really see her strategy in action. It's this brilliant two-step process. Feel the hit, then turn it into a hit song. She gets publicly humiliated at the VMAs in front of millions. She doesn't go on a tirade. She goes away, processes it, and comes back a year later with a song about grace. Then critics savage her vocals after the Grammys. She doesn't issue a press release. She writes Mean, this amazing anti-bullying anthem that goes on to win 2 Grammys of its own. She's literally turning pain into gold statues. It's incredible. And this whole pattern of turning setbacks into art, it just got more and more intense. After she wrote an entire album, Speak Now, all by herself just to prove a point, she made an even bigger leap. She went full-on pop. And yeah, it brought her more success than anyone could imagine, but it also opened her up to the biggest, most brutal public backlash she'd ever faced. So she wins Album of the Year for a second time for 1989, and she gets up there and gives this speech. And listening to it now, it's almost spooky. She's basically warning herself and every other young creator out there about what was coming. And that philosophy, just ignore the drama, focus on the work, that's the exact thing that would get her through the career-ending storm that was brewing at that very moment. Just look at how fast this all happens. It's dizzying. In the span of about 2 years, she goes from global pop phenomenon to breaking records to winning the biggest award in music again, and then, practically overnight, a celebrity feud blows up and the entire internet decides she's canceled. The hashtag Taylor Swift is over party is the #1 trend in the world. The whiplash was unreal. For almost anyone else, that would have been it. Game over. So what does she do? She just vanished for a full year. Wiped her social media, no interviews, nothing. She let the noise burn itself out and she went back to the one thing she always does, the work. And when she finally came back, she did it with Reputation, an album that took all the hate, all the snake emojis, and wore them like armor. And how did people respond? Over 1 million copies sold in the first week.
The takeaway here is huge. She proved that an angry online mob doesn't get to decide your fate. Your actual audience does. You'd think all of this, the rejections, the public shame, the cancellation, you'd think that was the ultimate test. But honestly, all of that was just training. It was the warm-up for the biggest fight of her life. And this time, it wasn't about a bad review. It was about who owned her legacy. So to really get the stakes here, you have to understand this term master recordings. Think of it this way. The master is the original painting. Everything else is just a copy. The person who owns that painting decides where it gets displayed, who can make prints of it, and who profits from it. Well, in 2019, the masters for her first 6 albums, everything from her teenage country songs to Reputation, were sold. And they were sold to someone she said had been bullying her for years. Her entire life's work was now in the hands of her opponents. So, what do? I mean, this feels like a checkmate situation, right? The contracts were signed, the deal was done, the entire music industry just kind of shrugs and says, well, that's business. How in the world do you get back your own past when it's been sold out from under you? You do something so bold, so audacious that nobody thought it could actually work. You decide to re-record everything, the first 6 albums, song by song, from scratch. It was a monumental gamble. I mean, would fans really care enough to listen to new versions of songs they already loved? Well, this chart answers that question pretty loud and clear. Fans didn't just listen. They chose Taylor's version overwhelmingly, making the new recordings way more popular and more valuable than the originals. She didn't just get her history back. She made it better. And that entire fight culminates in the Eras tour. This was so much more than just a concert series. It was a victory lap. A 3-hour-long celebration of every single chapter of her story, all performed on her own terms, with every song now fully, truly hers. And, of course, it became the highest-grossing tour in the history of music. It was the ultimate proof of the bond she has with the people who stood by her. So, when you take a step back and you look at this whole story, it's so much more than just talent. It's a complete masterclass in resilience. We can actually pull out the key moves and build a playbook from it. Believe in your vision, like a 13-year-old walking away from a dream deal. Outwork everyone, like a kid learning guitar till her fingers bled. Use setbacks as fuel. Turn every insult into an award-winning song. Stand on your principles no matter what. Be willing to evolve and take huge risks, like switching your entire genre. And a huge one, focus on the work, not the noise. And maybe most importantly, own your own story. Because if you don't, trust me, someone else will try to. And that really brings it all home, doesn't it? Her journey just proves that perseverance isn't some magical trait you're born with. It's a choice you have to make over and over, every time you face rejection or failure. It's just a relentless belief that what you're doing matters. And so it kind of turns the question back on all of us, right? What part of your own story is worth fighting for?